So there you have it. Little appetizer for Selection Sunday coming up this weekend. We had Selection Tuesday just moments ago. We got some answers on the college football playoff and how it's going to shake out when it comes to the rankings. Seeding, still waiting a little bit to see how that's all going to play out, but we got some answers. Not all of them we love. Full transparency, we have some disagreements. We're going to proceed, but we're not going to be 110% happy about it. We'll talk about it right now. Make sure you're dialed in right here. National Signing Day tomorrow over on the On The Recruits channel. Talking a lot about everything college football and college football recruiting right here on the On The YouTube channel. Just want y'all a part of this. Want y'all dialed in as we move into just the ridiculousness of the transfer portal, the college football playoff, and just a ton going on right now in the sport. I say ridiculous in the best way possible. Want y'all locked in. We appreciate you being subscribed. So we're going to get to this top 16 in a second here, but quick shout out to the people out there in Syracuse, New York, man. Fran Brown got him the top 25 with the win over Miami this past weekend. Winners get washed. Not sure what kind of products Fran Brown uses during his shower, but I'm sure the water pressure was tremendous. Hope that temperature was right where he liked it. Syracuse is in the top 25. Fran Brown is taking a shower. Vibes are tremendous. UNLV sitting there at 20. Now, why does this matter? Because UNLV, well, they play Boise State this upcoming weekend in Boise, Idaho for a Mountain West Conference championship. Now, if UNLV wins that football game, they will find themselves in the college football playoff by nature of Tulane having lost on Thanksgiving. UNLV would be the 12 seed. Let that sink in. They would be the 12 seed. Now, if Boise State beats them, where I think it's interesting here is I think that win over a top 20 team for Boise State would be enough to keep them as a team that would have a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. Again, a lot of moving parts. We're going to just kind of treat this thing with open hands and see how it all rolls, but that is firm. We can agree that is solid now. Boise State would have a bye in the first round of the college football playoff should they beat UNLV this weekend. Okay, so let's try and make sense of what we have here as it pertains to the top 16. Now at 17, I just mentioned top 16. 17 is Clemson. Reason why I mentioned Clemson at 17 in relation to the top 16, at 16, you got Iowa State. At 15, you have Arizona State. Why does that matter? Because Arizona State and Iowa State, both ahead of Clemson. If Clemson were to win the ACC, awesome. Punch your ticket to the college football playoff and you're fired up about it. However, you would not get a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. You would have the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, and that's right, the Mountain West repping the G5, all with the teams that would have a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. Now, if SMU ends up winning the ACC, Clemson, you're out of there. That opens up a spot for Alabama to be that team to get the last at-large bid into the college football playoff. Now, how do we get here? You go ahead and take a look at these rankings when it comes to what we have there in that cluster with the SEC. You got South Carolina at 14, Ole Miss at 13, Miami at 12, Alabama at 11. I have been extremely open. I think South Carolina deserves that at-large spot. If and only if SMU wins the ACC. South Carolina beat a top 12 team in America on the road. South Carolina ragdolled a team in Oklahoma that held Alabama to 3 points, no offensive touchdowns, and absolutely just took them to the woodshed. So I understand head-to-head has to matter. The committee is telling us it has to matter. But notice now, last time I got on my soapbox for South Carolina, football people, like scouts, analysts, people that actually make a living watching the game, they were all going to bat for South Carolina. I don't think that's coincidental. You had a lot of people with the resumes, the metrics, the folks that like to look at stats and box score scout. I'm all for it. I understand. Those people, though, were the ones that were saying, hey, go ahead and put X, Y, and Z team ahead of South Carolina. Food for thought. So Miami's at 12. They are on the outside looking in for the college football playoff. I think the initial gut reaction is, okay, well, how final are these rankings? Because Selection Sunday, that's the final word. The College Football Playoff Committee Chair, Ward Manuel, has come out and said, quote, teams that are not playing cannot be adjusted where they are compared to other teams that are not playing. Okay, so what he's saying there is this is set. Like Ole Miss, South Carolina, and where they're at in relation to Miami, Alabama, that's not changing. We're not going to see some different movement and value a South Carolina win over a Clemson if they win the ACC going this is set. And if you're Miami, as a fan of college football in general, it hurts my heart a little bit because I would have loved to see Cam Ward in a 12-team bracket and just see what they could have done. I mean, the defense didn't get it done. And like it is what it is. Like the defense let you down. And whether you want to blame it on personnel, whether you want to blame it on scheme, blame it on timeliness, whatever you want to blame it on, did not play well enough to get it done. This is a tangent, but I'll get on this I'll say this anyway. A lot of smoke, I think, coming Mario Cristobal's way for not going for it on 4th and goal from the 9-yard line. Y'all, there was they had 2 timeouts and 3+ minutes to go in the game. You trust our defense. It is what it is. So to recap it, if Clemson wins the ACC, the winner of the Big 12 championship will be the team that gets the bye as the 4th highest ranked conference champion. Okay, so Alabama at 11, they're in if SMU wins. Pretty straightforward. If SMU wins, Alabama is in the college football playoff. Okay, so at number 10, ranked 10th, but seeded 4th, how about that? Boise State. Everything we said about UNLV pertains to Boise State in the sense that it's a win-and-in situation. For Boise State, though, if you beat UNLV, a top 20 team, you get a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. We said that already, but we're just making sure we're all aligned here as we move up these rankings. Indiana, they are locked and loaded at number 9 in these rankings, currently seeded 10th. Indiana's fascinating because I think everyone has a strong opinion on Indiana, whether you think they don't belong or whether you think they should be ranked a lot higher than they are right now. The beautiful part about this, if you were standing on the table for an expanded college football playoff, you're going to get to see. As it stands right now, we would have Indiana playing Georgia the first round of the college football playoff, going to Athens if chalk were to hold. Okay, I'm here for that. Play against what has been the standard in college football 2 of the last 3 seasons. Okay, great, let's do it. So I love that for Indiana. They are locked and loaded college football playoff contenders. It's going to be a good one. SMU is ranked number 8th. By nature of them being where they are in relation to the highest rated ACC team or ranked ACC team, they would be the 3rd seed in this college football playoff format. So beat Clemson, pretty straightforward. You get a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. Either way now, this is my opinion, I can't prove this. Either way, I believe that SMU will have an at-large bid even if they lose to Clemson. I don't see a world where they would drop out of ranking range to be in the college football playoff. Now locked at 7 after a win over Vandy's Tennessee. As it stands right now, and again, these matchups may change a little bit, but as it stands right now, you'd have Tennessee going to Columbus, Ohio to play the Buckeyes. And Ohio State, with that game against Michigan, we'll talk about Ohio State here in a second. They got to circle the wagons. If I'm Tennessee, though, I watch that game. If I do draw Ohio State, I'm like, we can do what Michigan did. We run the football like Michigan does. Also, we got better quarterback play than Michigan has. No knock on Davis Warren, but like Nico Iamaleava, for all his faults, he's performed at a higher level than 60 yards passing in a game. Okay, we can work with that. So Tennessee locked in either way, but I think when it comes to who they would draw in the first round of the college football playoff, Ohio State or otherwise, I don't think there's a team that overwhelms you if you're a Tennessee Volunteer fan. At number 6, you have Ohio State. So to recap, Tennessee would be seeded 9th. Ohio State in this world would be seeded 8th if chalk were to hold. They're probably going to host a college football playoff game, is my feeling on this. And vibes are bad right now. There's no way around. You lost to Michigan for the 4th year in a row. People are frustrated, probably breaking a lot of things in their living room as that game goes 0-0, playing your rival. But the reality is you got to circle the wagons. I can't get out of my mind when Ohio State lost to Michigan and then still found their way into the 4-team college football playoff. They gave Georgia all they wanted and then some in that game. Need that same kind of a response if they play at home, not just from the team, but from that fan base. Because it's going to be tempting now as soon as you have a play you don't like or you get a play call that you wish was different or that they look a little bit lackluster in certain spots. It's going to be very quick or very tempting to be quick to maybe sell your stock a little bit as a fan. Not in the sense like you're not an Ohio State fan anymore, but you hear what I'm saying. Be quick to doubt Ryan Day and say, here we go again. It's going to take all oil now. I'll say that much. Georgia, they are currently locked in the college football playoff. They're ranked 5th. They're seeded 7th. Obviously, they have a chance to get a first-round bye should they beat Texas and Atlanta this weekend. I think a bye is what makes Georgia really dangerous. Because at that point, you get 20-plus days of rest. Kirby Smart gets a chance to get all game planned up, get a chance to get the roster healthy, which it feels like they haven't really had that in some time. All the way healthy, that is. Georgia, if they get a bye now, those national title aspirations, I think, become a lot more realistic. Notre Dame, they're in the college football playoff. They do not obviously play in a conference championship game this weekend. They're going to get a home game. Clap it up for Marcus Freeman and company, man. They're going to get a home game. They moved their finals schedule around, did Notre Dame, as an administration, within that school before the year started in preparation for having a home college football playoff game. How about that, man? I mean, fortune favors the bold, so I'm all about that. We talked about it on today's live show, but Notre Dame, they've been in fight or flight mode, man, since the NIU game. Like, they've been playing playoff football since week 2. Now, they've made the college football playoff. Do they exhale and feel some sense of, all right, mission accomplished to some degree, we're in the dance, good deal, we saved ourselves from the embarrassment that was the NIU loss? Or is it a thing where that playoff mentality persists and Notre Dame goes on a run? Because they're playing some of the best football they've played all year long right now. Good place to be come playoff time. So again, ranked 4th right now, currently seeded 6th. All this is just holding it with open hands. We'll see what happens. But Notre Dame, they're in the college football playoff, no way around that. Currently, ranked 3rd, seeded 5th would be Penn State. Either way, they're going to host a college football playoff game. So you got to go to State College, Pennsylvania, where it's going to be cold. I would have to imagine that's going to be a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to the weather. You got to get whiteout energy, man. If you can get a whiteout college football playoff game in Happy Valley, I don't care who rolls in there, you should feel good about your chances if you're Penn State. I'll leave it at that. At number 2, seeded 2nd, Texas. They're starting to click. A big reason why I like Texas in Atlanta this weekend, what they did against A&M started to feel a little bit more like the Texas we saw against Michigan. Not all the way. They didn't really, hit their stride like that, but you saw flashes that make you feel like, okay, Texas, if they can play that way in College Station, and it feels like Quinn Ewers getting his sea legs, the run game is rolling, you hope and pray Kelvin Banks heals up quickly, but regardless, Texas at 2, they're a problem, and they will host a college football playoff game in Austin. How about that? Number 1, no notes, you got Oregon. Same thing was said about Georgia, I think is true of Oregon. Some of these teams I don't think would benefit as much from a bye as maybe the fan base thinks they would, because you stay in rhythm, you stay in your routine, and you're able to kind of keep a good thing going. I don't think that's Oregon. I think they're mature. I think they're finely tuned, and I think they probably would benefit from a bye. Like, I think for them, honestly, they've been just going after it now for however many weeks in a row, and you see that start to wear on them. Look at the Wisconsin game, and that was, I think, to me, a product of them just being worn the heck out. They have earned the right to be in the spot, and if they win the Big Ten, obviously, they will have earned themselves a bye. I think that's one of those things that would benefit them. Okay, so that was mental gymnastics. Let's recap it here a little bit. Try and make sense of this. Ranked 12th is Miami. They are not going to get into the college football playoff by nature of how these auto bids work, all right? So, if SMU wins the ACC, Alabama will be that final at-large bid. If Clemson wins the ACC, they will not have a bye. However, SMU will be the team that gets the last at-large bid, in my opinion. At number 10, you got Boise. They will be your 4th seed as your 4th highest-ranked conference champion, according to how this whole thing would shake out as of right now. Ranked 9th is Indiana. They'd be your 10th seed. Either way, they're in the dance. SMU, again, I've already told you, I think they're a lock. As of right now, they'd be your 3rd seed, even though they're ranked 8th. Tennessee, ranked 7th, seeded 9th. I think they're a lock. Ohio State, same deal. They're locked in, ranked 6th, seeded 8th. Georgia, ranked 5th, seeded 7th. Notre Dame, ranked 4th, seeded 6th. Penn State, ranked 3rd, seeded 5th. Texas, thank goodness now we have some numbers that make sense. 2nd ranked, 2nd seed, same deal with Oregon, number 1 and number 1 seed when it comes to ranking as well. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. The dust is starting to settle. We have a clear picture as to how these college football playoff rankings are going to work out. If you're an Alabama fan, you go buy some SMU gear, you get the blue and red face paint out, you start cheering for Rhett Lashley and Kevin Jennings. You are rooting for them to beat Clemson because that means you're in the college football playoff. That last spot would be yours. So here we go now. We got a lot of these teams locked in. I cannot wait to watch this weekend's games. Make sure you're dialed in right here. We're doing college football year-round. If you've just found this channel, that's all we do here. Want y'all a part of it. Appreciate y'all. We love y'all. For Kane Smith on the 1s and 2s, for myself, JD PicKell, we're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.